Chapter 10, Dickon. The sun shone down for nearly a week on the secret garden. The secret garden was what Mary called it when she was thinking of it. She liked the name, and she liked even more the feeling that when its beautiful old walls shut her in, no one knew where she was. It felt almost like being shut out of the world in some fairy place. The few books she had read and liked had been fairy tales, and she had read of secret gardens in some of the stories. In those stories, people sometimes fell asleep in them for 100 years, which she had always thought was rather silly. She had no intention of falling asleep. In fact, she was becoming wider awake with every day that passed at Misselthwaite. She was beginning to enjoy being outdoors. She no longer hated the wind, but loved it. She could run faster and longer, and she could skip up to 100. The bulbs in the secret garden must have been quite surprised. Mary cleared such nice, clean spaces around them that they had all the breathing room they wanted. Even though Mary didn't know it, the bulbs began to cheer up under the dark earth and work incredibly hard. The sun could reach them and warm them, and when the rain came down, it could water them directly, so they began to feel very much alive. Mary was an odd, determined little person, and now that she had something interesting to be determined about, she was completely absorbed. She worked, dug, and pulled up weeds steadily, growing more pleased with her work every hour instead of getting tired of it. It felt like a fascinating game. She found many more of the sprouting, pale green shoots than she had ever hoped to find. They seemed to be popping up everywhere, and every day she was sure she found tiny new ones, some so small they barely peeked above the soil. There were so many that she remembered Martha's words about snowdrops by the thousands, and about bulbs spreading and making new ones. These had been left to themselves for 10 years, and perhaps they had spread, just like the snowdrops, into thousands. She wondered how long it would be before they showed that they were flowers. Sometimes she stopped digging just to look at the garden, trying to imagine what it would look like when it was covered with thousands of lovely things in bloom. During that week of sunshine, she became closer with Ben Weatherstaff. She surprised him several times by suddenly appearing beside him, as if she had sprung right out of the earth. The truth was, she was afraid he would pick up his tools and go away if he saw her coming, so she always walked toward him as silently as possible. But he did not actually object to her presence as strongly as he had at first. Perhaps he was secretly flattered by her obvious desire for his elderly company. Besides, she was much more polite now. He did not know that when she first saw him, she had spoken to him as if he were a native servant in India. She hadn't realized that a stubborn, sturdy old Yorkshireman was not used to bowing to his masters or being ordered around by them.
"You like the robin,"
he said to her one morning when he lifted his head and saw her standing by him.
"I never know when ill see you, or which direction yowl come from."
He's friends with me now, Mary said.
"That's just like him.
Snapped Ben Weatherstaff.
Flirting with the womenfolk just for vanity and show. There's nothing he wouldn't do to show off and flutter his tail feathers. He's as full of pride as an egg is full of meat."
Ben seldom talked much, and sometimes didn't even answer Mary's questions except with a grunt, but this morning, he was more talkative than usual. He stood up and rested one heavy boot on the top of his spade while he looked her over.
"How long have you been here?"
He jerked out. "I think it's about a month," she answered.
"You're beginning to do Misselthwaite credit."
He said.
"You're a bit fatter than you were, and you're not quite so yellow. You looked like a young, plucked crow when you first came into this garden. I thought to myself that I'd never set eyes on an uglier, sourer-faced child."
Mary was not vain, and since she had never thought much of her looks, she was not bothered by this. "I know I am fatter," she said. "My stockings are getting tighter. They used to be all wrinkled. Look, there's the robin, Ben Weatherstaff." There indeed was the robin, and she thought he looked nicer than ever. His red breast was as glossy as satin, and he fluttered his wings and tail, tilted his head, and hopped about with all kinds of lively, graceful movements. He seemed determined to make Ben Weatherstaff admire him, but Ben was sarcastic.
"Aye, there you are."
He said.
You can put up with me for a bit when you've got no one better. You've been reddening up your breast and polishing your feathers these last 2 weeks. I know what you're up to. You're courting some bold young lady somewhere, telling her lies about being the finest cock robin on Misselmoor, and how you're ready to fight all the rest of them.
Oh, look at him, Mary exclaimed. The robin was clearly in a bold, charming mood. He hopped closer and closer, looking at Ben Weatherstaff more and more engagingly. He flew onto the nearest currant bush, tilted his head, and sang a little song right at him.
You think you'll win me over by doing that?
Said Ben, wrinkling his face in a way that made Mary sure he was trying not to smile.
You think no one can resist you? That's what you think.
The robin spread his wings. Mary could hardly believe her eyes. He flew right up to the handle of Ben Weatherstaff's spade and landed on the very top of it. Then the old man's face slowly wrinkled into a brand new expression. He stood completely still, as if he were afraid to breathe, as if he wouldn't have moved for the world, lest his robin should fly away. He spoke in a whisper.
Well, I am danged.
He said, as softly as if he were saying a gentle prayer.
You really do know how to get to a chap. You do. You're almost unearthly. You're so clever.
He stood without moving, almost without breathing, until the robin fluttered its wings again and flew away. Then he stood looking at the handle of the spade as if there might be magic in it. Finally, he began to dig again and said nothing for several minutes. But because he kept breaking into a slow grin now and then, Mary was not afraid to talk to him. Do you have a garden of your own? She asked.
No, I am a bachelor, and I lodge with Martin at the gate.
If you had one, said Mary, what would you plant?
Cabbages, potatoes, and onions.
But if you wanted to make a flower garden? Mary persisted. What would you plant?
Bulbs and sweet-smelling things, but mostly roses.
Mary's face lit up. Do you like roses? She asked. Ben Weatherstaff pulled up a weed and threw it aside before he answered.
Well, yes, I do. I was taught to love them by a young lady I was gardener to. She had a lot of them in a place she was fond of, and she loved them like they were children or robins. I've seen her bend over and kiss them.
He dragged out another weed and scowled at it.
That was as much as 10 years ago.
Where is she now? Mary asked, very interested.
Heaven.
He answered and drove his spade deep into the soil.
According to what the parson says.
What happened to the roses? Mary asked again, more interested than ever.
They were left to themselves.
Mary was becoming quite excited. Did they die? Do roses completely die when they are left to themselves? She ventured.
Well, I'd grown to like them, and I liked her, and she liked them.
Ben Weatherstaff admitted reluctantly.
Once or twice a year I'd go and work on them a bit, prune them and dig around the roots. They ran wild, but they were in rich soil, so some of them lived.
When they have no leaves and look gray and brown and dry, how can you tell whether they are dead or alive? Mary asked.
Wait until the spring gets at them. Wait until the sun shines on the rain, and the rain falls on the sunshine, and then you'll find out.
How? Mary cried, forgetting to be careful.
Look along the twigs and branches. If you see a tiny brown lump swelling here and there, watch it after the warm rain and see what happens.
He stopped suddenly and looked curiously at her eager face.
Why do you care so much about roses and such, all of a sudden?
He demanded. Mary felt her face turn red. She was almost afraid to answer. I want to play that I have a garden of my own. She stammered. There is nothing for me to do. I have nothing and no one,
Well,
said Ben Weatherstaff slowly, as he watched her.
that's true, you haven't.
He said it in such a strange way that Mary wondered if he was actually a little sorry for her. She had never felt sorry for herself. She had only felt tired and cross because she disliked people and things so much. But now the world seemed to be changing and getting nicer. If no one found out about the secret garden, she would enjoy herself forever. She stayed with him for 10 or 15 minutes longer, asking him as many questions as she dared. He answered every one of them in his usual grunting way, but he did not seem truly angry, and he did not pick up his spade and leave her. He mentioned something about roses just as she was going away, which reminded her of the ones he had said he loved. "Do you go and see those other roses now?" she asked.
Haven't been this year. My rheumatism has made me too stiff in the joints.
He said it in his grumbling voice, and then quite suddenly, he seemed to get angry with her, though she did not see why he should.
Now look here.
He said sharply.
Don't you ask so many questions. You're the worst girl for asking questions I've ever come across. Go along now and play. I'm done talking for today.
He said it so crossly that she knew there was no point in staying another minute. She went skipping slowly down the outside walk, thinking about him. She said to herself that, strange as it was, here was another person she liked despite his grumpiness. She liked old Ben Weatherstaff. Yes, she did like him. She always wanted to try to make him talk to her. She also began to believe that he knew everything in the world about flowers. There was a laurel-hedged path that curved around the secret garden and ended at a gate opening into a wood in the park. She decided to slip along this path and look into the wood to see if there were any rabbits hopping about. She enjoyed skipping very much, and when she reached the little gate, she opened it and went through because she heard a low, peculiar whistling sound and wanted to find out what it was. It was a very strange sight indeed. She caught her breath as she stopped to look. A boy was sitting under a tree, leaning his back against it and playing a rough wooden pipe. He was a funny-looking boy, about 12 years old. He looked very clean, his nose turned up, and his cheeks were as red as poppies. Mary had never seen such round, blue eyes in any boy's face. Clinging to the trunk of the tree he leaned against was a brown squirrel watching him. From behind a nearby bush, a cock pheasant was delicately stretching its neck to peek out, and quite close to him, 2 rabbits were sitting up, sniffing with trembling noses. It actually looked as if they had all gathered to watch him and listen to the strange, low little tune his pipe made. When he saw Mary, he held up his hand and spoke to her in a voice almost as low and quiet as his piping.
"Don't move.
He said.
It'll frighten them."
Mary stood perfectly still. He stopped playing his pipe and began to rise from the ground. He moved so slowly that it barely seemed like he was moving at all. Finally, he stood on his feet. At that, the squirrel scampered back up into the branches of the tree, the pheasant withdrew its head, and the rabbits dropped back onto all fours and hopped away, though not as if they were frightened.
"I am Dickon.
The boy said.
I know you're Miss Mary."
Then Mary realized that somehow she had known all along that he was Dickon. Who else could have charmed rabbits and pheasants the way Indian snake charmers charm snakes? He had a wide, red, curving mouth, and his smile spread all over his face.
"I got up slowly,
He explained.
because if you make a quick move, it startles them. A person has to move gently and speak softly when wild things are around."
He did not speak to her as if they had never met, but rather as if he knew her quite well. Mary knew nothing about boys, and she spoke to him a little stiffly because she felt rather shy. "Did you get Martha's letter?" she asked. He nodded his curly, rust-colored head.
"That's why I came."
He stooped to pick up something that had been lying on the ground beside him while he played.
"I've got the garden tools. There's a little spade, a rake, a fork, and a hoe. Oh, they are good ones. There's a trowel, too. And the woman in the shop threw in a packet of white poppy seeds and one of blue larkspur when I bought the other seeds.
Will you show the seeds to me? Mary asked. She wished she could talk the way he did. His speech was so quick and easy. It sounded as if he liked her and was not at all afraid that she wouldn't like him, even though he was only a common moor boy in patched clothes, with a funny face and a rough, rusty red head. As she came closer, she noticed a clean, fresh scent of heather, grass, and leaves around him, almost as if he were made of them. She liked it very much, and when she looked into his funny face with the red cheeks and round blue eyes, she forgot to feel shy. "Let us sit down on this log and look at them," she said. They sat down, and he took a clumsy little brown paper package out of his coat pocket. He untied the string, revealing many smaller, neater packages inside, each with a picture of a flower on it.
There's a lot of mignonette and poppies.
He said.
Mignonette is the sweetest smelling thing that grows, and it'll grow wherever you throw the seeds, just like poppies. The ones that come up and bloom if you just whistle to them, those are the nicest of all.
He stopped and turned his head quickly, his bright face lighting up.
Where's that robin that is calling us?
He said. The chirp came from a thick holly bush, bright with scarlet berries, and Mary thought she knew whose robin it was. "Is it really calling us?" she asked.
"Aye,"
said Dickon, as if it were the most natural thing in the world.
"He's calling someone he's friends with. That's his way of saying, 'Here I am, look at me. I want a bit of a chat. There he is in the bush. Whose is he?"
"He's Ben Weatherstaff's, but I think he knows me a little," Mary answered.
"Aye, he knows you.
Dickon said in his low voice.
And he likes you. He's taken to you. He'll tell me all about you in a minute."
He moved close to the bush with the same slow, gentle movements Mary had noticed before. Then he made a sound that was almost like the robin's own twitter. The robin listened intently for a few seconds, then chirped back as if answering a question.
"Aye, he's a friend of yours."
Chuckled Dickon. "Do you think he is?" Mary cried eagerly. She wanted to know so badly. "Do you think he really likes me?"
"He wouldn't come near you if he didn't."
Dickon answered.
"Birds are very choosy, and a robin can snub a person worse than a human can. See, he's showing off for you now. Can't you see a chap, he's saying."
And it really seemed to be true. The robin tilted, sidled, and twittered as he hopped on his bush. "Do you understand everything birds say?" Mary asked. Dickon's grin widened until his mouth seemed to stretch across his face, and he rubbed his rough head.
"I think I do, and they think I do."
He said.
"I've lived on the moor with them for so long. I've watched them break their shells, grow their feathers, learn to fly, and begin to sing, until I feel like I am one of them. Sometimes I think maybe I am a bird, or a fox, or a rabbit, or a squirrel, or even a beetle, and I just don't know it."
He laughed, came back to the log, and began to talk about the flower seeds again. He told her what they would look like when they bloomed, how to plant them, watch them, and how to water and care for them.
"Look here,"
he said suddenly, turning to look at her.
"I'll plant them for you myself. Where is your garden?"
Mary's thin hands clutched each other in her lap. She did not know what to say, so she sat in silence for a whole minute. She had never thought about this possibility. She felt miserable, turning red and then pale.
"You've got a bit of a garden, haven't you?"
Dickon asked. It was true that she had flushed and then turned pale. Dickon saw it, and since she still said nothing, he began to look puzzled.
"Wouldn't they give you a little plot?"
He asked.
"Haven't you got one yet?"
She squeezed her hands together even tighter and looked at him. I don't know anything about boys, she said slowly. Could you keep a secret if I told you one? It's a huge secret. I don't know what I would do if anyone found out. I think I would die. She said the last words almost fiercely. Dickon looked more puzzled than ever and rubbed his hand over his rough hair again, but he answered good-naturedly.
I am keeping secrets all the time.
He said.
If I couldn't keep secrets from the other boys, secrets about fox cubs, birds' nests, and wild animals' holes, nothing on the moor would be safe. Yes, I can keep a secret.
Mary hadn't meant to reach out and grab his sleeve, but she did. I've stolen a garden, she said quickly. It isn't mine, it isn't anyone's. Nobody wants it, nobody cares for it, and nobody ever goes inside. Perhaps everything in it is already dead, I don't know. She began to feel hot and defiant, more stubborn than ever before. I don't care, I don't care. Nobody has any right to take it from me when I care about it and they don't. They're just letting it die, locked away all by itself. She ended passionately. She threw her arms over her face and burst into tears, poor little Mary. Dickon's curious blue eyes grew wider and wider.
Lo,
He said, drawing the sound out slowly in a way that showed both wonder and deep sympathy. I have nothing to do. Mary sobbed. Nothing belongs to me. I found it myself and I got in by myself. I was just like the robin and they wouldn't take it away from the robin.
where is it?
Dickon asked in a quiet, low voice. Mary stood up from the log at once. Her defiant, obstinate mood returned, and she did not care anymore. She felt proud and stubborn, yet hot and sorrowful all at once. Come with me and I'll show you, she said. She led him around the laurel path to the walk where the ivy grew so thickly. Dickon followed her with a curious, almost pitying look on his face. He felt as if he were being led to see some rare bird's nest and needed to move very softly. When she stepped to the wall and lifted the hanging ivy, he gasped. There was a door, and Mary pushed it slowly open. They stepped inside together, and Mary waved her hand around defiantly. It's this, she said. It's a secret garden, and I am the only person in the world who wants it to be alive. Dickon looked all around the garden, taking it in slowly, again and again.
Lo,
He almost whispered.
it is a strange, lovely place. It feels just like being in a dream.
Chapter 11, The Nest of the Missel Thrush. For 2 or 3 minutes, he stood looking around him while Mary watched. Then he began to walk about softly, stepping even more lightly than Mary had when she first found herself inside the 4 walls. His eyes seemed to take in everything, the gray trees with gray vines climbing over them and hanging from their branches, the tangles on the walls and in the grass, and the evergreen alcoves with stone seats and tall flower urns standing inside them.
I never thought I'd see this place.
He said at last in a whisper. Did you know about it? Asked Mary. She had spoken aloud, and he made a sign for her to be quiet.
We must speak softly,
He said.
or someone will hear us and wonder what is going on in here.
Oh, I forgot, Mary said, feeling startled and quickly putting her hand over her mouth. Did you know about the garden? She asked again, once she had recovered herself. Dickon nodded.
Martha told me there was one that no one was ever allowed inside.
He answered.
We used to wonder what it was like.
He stopped and looked around at the lovely gray tangle about him, his round eyes shining with a strange happiness.
Oh, the nests that will be here come spring.
He said.
It will be the safest nesting place in England, with no one ever coming near and plenty of tangled trees and roses to build in. I wonder why all the birds on the moor don't build here.
Mary put her hand on his arm again, without realizing it. Will there be roses? She whispered. Can you tell? I thought maybe they were all dead.
Oh no, not them, not all of them.
He answered.
Look here.
He stepped over to the nearest tree, a very old one covered in gray lichen, but supporting a curtain of tangled branches and shoots. He took a sturdy pocket knife out of his pocket and opened one of the blades.
There's lots of dead wood that needs to be cut out.
He said.
And there's a lot of old wood, but it grew some new branches last year. This one here is new.
And he touched a shoot that looked brownish-green instead of hard, dry gray. Mary touched it herself in an eager, respectful way. That one, she said. Is that one completely alive, really? Dickens smiled wide.
It's as wick as you or me.
He said. Mary remembered that Martha had told her wick meant alive or lively. I am glad it's wick. She whispered excitedly. I want them all to be alive. Let's go around the garden and count how many live ones there are. She was breathless with excitement, and Dickon was just as eager. They went from tree to tree and from bush to bush. Dickon carried his knife in his hand, showing her things she found absolutely wonderful.
They've run wild.
He said.
But the strongest ones have really thrived on it. The most delicate ones have died out, but the others have grown and spread until they're amazing. Look here.
He pulled down a thick, gray, dry-looking branch.
A person might think this was dead wood, but I don't believe it is, not down to the root. I'll cut it close to the ground and see.
He knelt down and cut through the dead-looking branch just above the ground.
There.
He said triumphantly.
I told you so. There's green in that wood yet. Look at it.
Mary was down on her knees before he even finished speaking, staring at it with all her might.
When it looks a bit greenish and juicy like that, it's alive.
He explained.
When the inside is dry and breaks easily, like this piece I've cut off, it's done for. There's a big root here that all this live wood sprang from. If the old wood is cut away and the dirt is dug up around it and taken care of, there'll be.
He stopped and looked up at the climbing, hanging branches above him.
There'll be a fountain of roses here this summer.
They went from bush to bush and from tree to tree. He was very strong and skilled with his knife, knowing exactly how to prune the dry, dead wood away and telling when a hopeless-looking branch or twig still had green life in it. Within half an hour, Mary felt like she could tell too. Whenever he cut through a dead-looking branch and she caught sight of the slightest hint of moist green, she would cry out joyfully under her breath. The spade, hoe, and weeding fork were incredibly useful. He showed her how to use the fork while he dug around the roots with the spade, turning the soil and letting the air in. They were working hard around one of the biggest rose bushes when he caught sight of something that made him gasp in surprise.
Look!
He cried, pointing to the grass a few feet away.
Who did that?
It was one of Mary's own little cleared patches around the pale green shoots. I did it, Mary said.
Why, I thought you didn't know anything about gardening.
He exclaimed. I don't, she answered. But they were so tiny, and the grass was so thick and strong, they looked like they had no room to breathe. So I made space for them. I don't even know what they are. Dickon walked over and knelt down by them, smiling his wide smile.
You were right,
he said.
A professional gardener couldn't have told you any better. They'll grow like Jack's beanstalk now. They're crocuses and snowdrops, and these here are narcissuses.
He said, turning to another patch.
And here are daffodils. Oh, they will be a beautiful sight.
He ran from one cleared patch to another.
You've done a lot of work for such a little girl.
He said, looking her over. I am gaining weight. Mary said. And I am growing stronger. I used to be tired all the time. When I dig, I don't feel tired at all. I love the smell of the earth when it's turned over.
It's really good for you.
He said, nodding his head wisely.
There's nothing as nice as the smell of good, clean dirt, except the smell of fresh, growing things when the rain falls on them. I go out on the moor many a day when it's raining, lying under a bush to listen to the soft swish of the drops on the heather, and I just sniff and sniff. My mother says the tip of my nose actually quivers like a rabbit's.
Do you never catch a cold? Mary asked, staring at him in wonder. She had never seen such a funny, nice boy.
Not me.
He said, grinning.
I've never caught a cold in my life. I wasn't raised to be delicate. I've run around the moor in all kinds of weather, just like the rabbits do. Mother says I've breathed in too much fresh air over 12 years to ever get a stuffy nose. I am as tough as a thorny walking stick.
He kept working while he talked, and Mary followed him, helping with her fork or trowel.
There's so much work to do here.
He said once, looking around with pure joy. Will you come back and help me do it? Mary begged. I know I can help too. I can dig, pull up weeds, and do whatever you tell me. Oh, please come, Dickon.
I'll come every day if you want me to, rain or shine.
He answered stoutly.
This is the best fun I've ever had in my life, being shut in here and waking up a garden.
If you come, Mary said. And help me bring it back to life. I don't know what I'll do. She finished helplessly. What could anyone do for a boy like him?
I'll tell you what y'all do.
Dickon said with his happy grin.
Y'all get healthy and strong. Y'all get as hungry as a young fox, and y'all learn how to talk to the robin just like I do. Oh, we'll have so much fun.
He began to walk around, looking up at the trees, walls, and bushes with a thoughtful expression.
I wouldn't want to make it look like a professional gardener's garden, all trimmed and perfectly neat, would you?
He said.
It's much nicer like this, with everything running wild, swinging and grabbing onto each other.
Let's not make it tidy. Mary said anxiously. It wouldn't feel like a secret garden if it were neat. Dickon stood scratching his rusty red hair with a puzzled look.
It's a secret garden, sure enough.
He said.
But it seems like someone besides the robin has been in here, since it was locked up 10 years ago.
But the door was locked and the key was buried. Mary said. No one could get in.
That's true.
He answered.
It's a strange place. It looks to me like some pruning was done here and there, more recently than 10 years ago.
But how could that be? Mary asked. He was examining a branch of a rosebush and shook his head.
Yes, how could they?
He murmured.
With the door locked and the key buried.
Mary felt that no matter how long she lived, she would never forget that first morning when her garden began to grow. Of course, it really did seem to start growing for her that very day. As Dickon began clearing spots to plant seeds, she remembered what Basil had sung to tease her. Are there any flowers that look like bells? She asked.
Lilies of the valley do.
He answered, digging away with the trowel.
And there are Canterbury bells and campanulas.
Let's plant some, Mary said.
There are lilies of the valley here already. I saw them. They've grown too close together and we'll have to separate them, but there are plenty. The other flowers take 2 years to bloom from seeds, but I can bring you some starter plants from our cottage garden. Why do you want them?
Then Mary told him about Basil and his siblings in India, how much she had hated them, and how they used to call her Mistress Mary, quite contrary. They used to dance around and sing at me, they sang. Mistress Mary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells. And marigolds all in a row. I just remembered it, and it made me wonder if there were really flowers like silver bells. She frowned a little, and dug her trowel into the dirt with a bit of spite. I wasn't as stubborn as they were. But Dickon laughed.
Lo,
He said, crumbling the rich black soil, and she saw him sniffing its scent.
there doesn't seem to be any reason for anyone to be contrary when there are flowers and things, and so many friendly wild creatures running around making homes, building nests and singing and whistling. Does there?
Mary, kneeling beside him and holding the seeds, looked at him and stopped frowning. Dickon, she said. You are just as nice as Martha said you were. I like you, and you make the 5th person. I never thought I would like 5 people. Dickon sat back on his heels, just as Martha did when she was polishing the fireplace grate. He looked so funny and delightful, Mary thought, with his round blue eyes, red cheeks, and happy, turned-up nose.
Only 5 people that you like.
He asked.
Who are the other 4?
Your mother and Martha. Mary said, counting them on her fingers. And the robin and Ben Weatherstaff. Dickon laughed so hard he had to muffle the sound by putting his arm over his mouth.
I know you think I'm a strange lad,
He said.
but I think you're the strangest little girl I've ever seen.
Then Mary did a strange thing. She leaned forward and asked him a question she had never dreamed of asking anyone before. She tried to ask it in Yorkshire because that was his language, and in India, local people were always pleased if you spoke their tongue. Does Thaw like me? She asked.
Lo,
He answered heartily.
that I do. I like you wonderfully, and so does the robin, I truly believe.
That's 2 then. Mary said. That's 2 who like me. Then they began to work harder and more joyfully than ever. Mary was startled and sorry when she heard the big clock in the courtyard strike the hour for lunch. I have to go, she said sadly. And you have to go too, don't you? Dickon grinned.
My lunch is easy to carry around.
He said.
Mother always lets me put a bit of something in my pocket.
He picked up his coat from the grass and pulled a lumpy little bundle out of the pocket, wrapped in a clean, coarse blue and white handkerchief. It contained 2 thick slices of bread, with something sandwiched between them.
It's usually nothing but bread,
He said.
but I've got a nice slice of fat bacon with it today.
Mary thought it looked like a strange lunch, but he seemed ready to enjoy it.
Go on and get your food.
He said.
I'll be finished with mine first. I'll get a bit more work done before I head back home.
He sat down with his back against a tree.
I'll call the robin over
He said.
and give him the bacon rind to peck at. Robins really love a bit of fat.
Mary could hardly bear to leave him. Suddenly, she worried he might be a kind of forest elf who would vanish by the time she came back to the garden. He seemed too good to be true. She walked slowly halfway to the door in the wall, then stopped and turned back. Whatever happens, you would never tell anyone? She asked. His bright red cheeks were stuffed with his first big bite of bread and bacon, but he managed to smile encouragingly.
If you were a missile thrush and showed me where your nest was, do you think it'd tell anyone? Not me.
He said,
You're as safe as a missile thrush.
and she was quite sure she was.